Okay, greetings, brothers and sisters. Sunday, January 18th. This video will be up Monday night. Kaboom. I believe those of us who have eyes to see have known this for a while. The people who have eyes that actually can see this. Why people listen to this propped up putz is beyond me. Boom. Candace Owens is actually a fucking dude. It's right here. You see it in the picture. Unfucking deniable, irrefutable evidence here that Candace Owens has got a penis. It's got right there. I mean, it's just, boom. There's Candace and there's Cameron. Apparently Cameron Owens was also a member of the Jackson 5. I don't know. Maybe Jermaine. I don't know which one that is. But here it is, right? Boom. Even bigger. It's right there. We know none of us saw it. And so anybody who has evidence to corroborate this can leave it in my tip line. Hashtag Candace has a penis. Because it's so obvious. Like, we've been missing it this whole time. I mean, this kind of evidence is just, like I said, irrefutable. See if let's check the tip line. See if anything's come in already. Okay, so let me open up this imaginary tip line that I have. And here, there's our first entry. We have a person here. The person goes by the name of Mitch Blows. Mitch writes that while I was at Fort Chichuca, I went into the men's room and I opened up one of the stalls. And sitting on the toilet was Candace J. Owens, and she was holding her penis. So there it is, right from the word of Mitch Blows, not only saying that he saw Cameron Owens's penis, but also that she was at Fort Chichuca, which means that she's part of this Charlie Kirk assassination and some mind control program and some trans investigation, like all of those things. I mean, these incredible resources like Mitch Blows, these people who bring in the facts to our tip line. In fact, here's another one from Mitch Blows. He also saw Candace Owens on one Egyptian plane, and he saw Erika Kirk on another, both having dongs, as the aforementioned dogs. And they were sitting with the French Foreign Legion and Mossad and the Macromes and one of the DuPonts and a bunch of guys wearing maroon shirts that meant that they were military, and Tyler Robinson. And they all landed in Fort Chichucha, and they attended a quinceañera. And they attended an Illuminati quinceañera with satanic undertones. Okay, so there's more here. We have this. Boom, Mandus. Holy shit. I didn't even see that coming. Like, why would you name your kid Candace unless you secretly knew she was Mandus, right? That you could just take the C out of Candace and add an M, and it turns it into a man. Boom. You have this irrefutable photo, and now this Mandus. This is 100% legitimized. Hashtag, where is Candace's penis? Candace has a penis. Both of them. Hashtag Candace has a penis. Hey, wait, I got another comment from the tip line. Somebody writes, "Hey, you moron. That's an AI-generated photo. Why don't you get a life?" Okay, so I don't appreciate those kind of fucking comments and tips. That's not really the tip. I'm only looking for tips that support my narrative here, that Candace is a man. Like, I don't want people with critical thinking skills or people based in the truth or non-mentally ill grifters, non-grifters. We want people like Mitch Blows, people who have a very poor character and are questionable in terms of their integrity and their credibility. In fact, we want people with no credibility at all. We don't want credible sources. We're not looking. That's not what this tip jar is about. We're not looking for people to claim that this is somehow faked photo, and that it's ridiculous to think that Candace doesn't have a penis, or does have a penis, whatever it is. We're not looking for people like that. We're looking for people who legitimize the narrative, right? People who are going to support whatever I'm throwing down here. So if you're coming in to try to debunk this Mandus thing, that Candace is actually a man, then don't leave a tip. Like that's not a credible tip. You lost all credibility by not going along with this unsubstantiated narrative that I'm throwing down here. It's clear that Candace is a man, and she's been seen at Fort Huachuca, Chichuca, Chichucha. That's what I really. I meant to call it Fort Chichucha. She's been seen at Fort Chichucha. We know it from Mitch Blows, and so that's the kind of resource that we need. None of this AI talking bullshit. This is clearly Candace as a man. This is what Candace really is, deep down. Candace has a dong, and none of you guys can refute it. It's irrefutable. I mean, look at that. How could you refute something so obvious? And then boom, the Mandis thing. I mean, like if you needed secondary proof, it's there. But why would you need any secondary proof? I mean, if you have eyes you can see, why would you need any secondary proof? Why would you need to validate any of this information? Why wouldn't you just go with the first picture, which clearly shows that Candace Owens was a dude? Like, that's all you need to know. Like your reality should just change, and that should be what you think, because you don't need secondary proof. Okay, this breaking news, Erika Kirk also has a dong. Hashtag Erika Kirk has a penis. This is a young Erika Kirk. Obviously, we see what's going on here, right? They're both, and I think Candace Owens and Erika Kirk might be biological sisters. I'm not sure about that. Maybe somebody can drop a tip with that. Oh yeah, I got one already. Another one from Mitch Blows is confirming that Erika Kirk and Candace Owens are actually biological twins, and they were at Fort Chichucha at the same time, obviously combining and killing Charlie J. Kirk. It's here from my tip line. I'm getting all the tips, all these credible tips from non-credible sources, and this is what's going down. Erika Kirk's got a dong, Candace Owens got a dong, and they both combined to plot Charlie Kirk's assassination. Okay, breaking news, just a new tip I got. Let's take a moment to remember the time Charlie Kirk dressed up as a woman. Boom. There it is. Look at Charlie Kirk. I mean, obviously, he's got a vagina. It's just right there. It's right there in front of you. I mean, these tips are just coming in. I didn't realize I was missing out on all this quality information from the tip line. I mean, look at the guy. Look at Charlie J. Kirk dressed up like a woman, because he was a woman. Like, he was faking it the rest of the time. And so now we know Mandis and Eric Kirk were dudes, and Charlene Kirk was a woman. So it's there. I mean, my quality tip line, all these tips from these random anonymous sources that show up and deliver the goods. I mean, there's all this hidden information, this wonderful information out there. And when you don't substantiate it, and when you don't look into the integrity and the believability of the sources, then, I mean, it's just an amazing world you can live in. And you can make really good fucking content like this, where you can just bring all this stuff together, and they're all at Fort Chichucha together up in Fort Chichucha is like purgatory or heaven or hell, one of the three. It's this, a place where all these souls pass through when they're a part of the fucking show, at least according to Mitch Blows. Yeah, so this is clearly irrefutable. I mean, when you got these kind of gaps in integrity and journalistic morals and journalistic principles, I mean, all these things could be true. You just, whatever somebody throws out there, you just fucking go with it. Then you open up a fucking tip jar, and you let crazy fucks just tell you things, and you don't fact check it, and you don't substantiate what the person's saying and check their credibility and do any sort of research do deep research into the whatever bullshit thing you're hearing. As long as you follow those guidelines, the Alex Jones School of Journalism, then well, let's go to Alex Jones. What do you have to say about this, Alex?
God gave me a good brain.
Candace Owens clearly has a penis, and so does Erika, and Charlie Kirk has a vagina. And they all live in Fort Chichucha. That's why you have to go to InfoWarsStore.com and buy one of my many faceted dongs. You can have a dong too. Candace has a dong, Erika has a dong, Charlie Kirk wish he had a dong, and I really like to suck on a dong. A ding dong. So go to InfoWarsStore.com right now and get my products. Roger.
Okay, so no one has more credibility than Alex P. Jones. And to talk about that credibility, because Candace Owens, this is the kind of credibility that she has.
But then I said to myself, this man has lived through so much. You know what I mean? This man has lived through so much.
My wife neglects us, ignores us, and then screams at us on Saturday mornings.
And I would be turning my back on this, really a hero.
I didn't give you an asshole answer, I gave you a smartass answer. It's Saturday morning, and it's okay to be a smartass.
For discovering the cartels.
I have no idea where the keys are. Would love to know.
Who's lived through so much and has been treated like the government. And then I struggled with my own soul going, I'm turning my back on him because I'm afraid.
Touch that Mustang. Stop it!
Touched it.
Of backlash for allowing him to tell the truth.
You want to video record shit?
And my soul was in conflict. And I decided that, you know what, this is not my platform, okay? I genuinely believe this is God's platform. I am a conduit. I don't know why I have a platform.
You want to threaten to hit my car with a hammer? God damn it! Marriage over, bitch. Goodbye.
And I don't know why you have this luck in life.
And she lured me in there and attacked me. Hit me with a hammer and, break my thumbs, my feet, back of my skull.
I really don't. I don't know why these things happen to you or why they happen to me.
Yeah, she took my keys, she took my phone, she went back inside and forced me to go back in and find out what was going on. Lures me to the garage that she pre-set up to be like a little prison.
But I know that my prayer was very intentional that night.
Then you stop it.
That I received that email. So I'm going to allow the internet to hear your testimony, hear what you think.
You know what? Do it all you want. Go ahead.
I don't want to. I want you to fucking start treating me better than you treat this car.
Everyone's like, what does this have to do with Fort Huachuca? Can Suge Knight see Brian Harpole at a military base? Like, do I care about Suge Knight's history? What does this have to do with anything? This is just illogical.
But that's not what we were doing today. But you have to do this. You have to don't defend
ask you a
yourself
question.
now.
I can defend myself all I want because you're being insane.
Ally with me, and I know how much you are already going through fighting them, and I intend to help you raise money.
What is so bad about being a smartass?
To go through these lawsuits with the federal government. I know this is not easy. I know what your kid has been through. I know what your wife has been through.
Mess with your car. I haven't touched this car in forever.
And no one should have to go through this because they told the truth.
You do.
Yeah, I've never done crap like that, Mitch.
Yeah. That's the thing. You do it all the fucking time.
No.
That's what you do.
You just beat our door in with a hammer.
Why are you videotaping me?
Why are you acting crazy? You want me to let you in and that's what you do?
And potentially stumbled upon something corrupt, did definitively stumble upon something corrupt. And I think the public will be with you because...
Yeah. So, she did that. And eventually I was hearing my son cry. I was worried about him, having her maul him with the dogs.
Boats and hoes.
Okay, so I have two comments from yesterday, today, Sunday, January 18th still. And I was going to read one of them at the end of the video, and I might read some more then, but both of them have to do with Charlie Kirk. It's the one with Candace that's coming up that's more important to this part of the video. But let me just read this one. Charlie Kirk, or How a Religion Was Created. A really good person was killed publicly who was spreading a good message. No one can locate the body. Many people come forward claiming they knew him and were good friends. He was more than just a man. His neck was made of steel, saving others from a 30-06. He was a time traveler. And so that's kind of a good comment. The only problem is that's how religions in the West are started. Like, you don't need to kill people like in India, like to start a religion. And there's a different way of going about it, but, good observation on that person's part. And so the part that has to do with Candace, now I'm going to show you a clip with Jimmy Dore, and he gets destroyed because he sucks. And then a clip with Trump, talking about the great healthcare plan, and then, you know, Greenland. And then I have another clip I'm about to make about Jimmy Dore doubling down on this bullshit with Candace, right? And so, in the spirit of what's coming, in in those segments, the person wrote, "What is your issue with Candace? Why does your content include her at all? Candace lost 40% of her audience because of Mitch and Erika, and Todd Bridges living the dream." And somebody wrote, "Read up on controlled opposition," and somebody else wrote, they both lost all of their viewers. I think he's referring to me as well. Okay, so in that video, which I'm going to cover again here with the Jimmy Dore, some of the stuff just needs to be repeated in different ways. I'll say it in a different way. But if you guys watched the video, Candace came out and said we were right about Fort Huachuca, and gave no real information other than a crowd-funded movie idea that never did anything, that may or may not have involved Erika Kirk starring, that she was in a poster. There's just basically a poster for the movie. That's all there was. And an idea, and some people might have had loose associations with Fort Huachuca, but really none of those things were substantive, right? None of those things had any substance in them, and they didn't prove anything. For her to say we were right about Fort Huachuca, they're doing anything, which is what I was, my whatever bit I did in the beginning with her being a dude, having basically no real information, nothing close to being anything that proves anything, certainly nothing incriminating, nothing substantial, right? So that's the one part. But the problem is I talked about this for a good 20 minutes, and I've talked about this in other videos. And the person writes, let me read this again. What is your issue with Candace? Why does your content include her at all? That means you didn't understand what I said, right? Like, I talked about it for 20 minutes, and it wasn't hard to understand. It means that you don't have the comprehension ability to understand what I said. You're just basically saying to me, I'm a dumb fuck and I can't understand your videos. And what do you want me to do? Make you smarter? You want me to fucking say it in Dick and Jane terms? Like, what is it that you're looking for? I'm not going to dumb down my shit because I don't want dumb fucks here, right? I don't want low consciousness people here. The reason I covered it is I covered Charlie Kirk in the first place. And, Candace was the catalyst for wrecking TPUS gay. And so I wasn't Team Candace, but certainly I was glad she was doing what she was doing in the beginning. But then she just lost her shit in Egyptian planes and other things like that, right? The French Foreign Legion and all this other bullshit and tying it to the Macromes. And, she comes up with circumstantial evidence and makes it sound like she's convicted these people. No consequences are ever doled out. Nothing changes. And I've talked about this with the truth community. And she's lying to her audience, and she's dragging down all of us with her. Not that the truth community has any anything left in it, right? It's already been, prostituted and compromised and thrown away like a used rubber. I mean, it's fucking, the truth community is gone. Like, it's not, like I said in my other video, my last video, the truth community is responsible for dumbing down even mainstream news and political parties, certainly the Republican Party right now. Not that the Democratic Party is intelligent, but what Trump is doing is just, it's for morons, right? It's for retards. Like, he just goes out there and says a bunch of like remedial shit, and they lap it up or don't, and can't figure anything out, and they're still buying his bullshit. And like the liberals bought for Biden, and the truth community has actually driven down consciousness when it should have been the opposite, right? Independent voices, free from the constraints of the mainstream system, but somehow the truth community became so infected with the dumbass QBs and the right-wing dopes and all these people who came to the party late. And so that's, not that I have an issue with Candace, but that's why I'm talking about it. Because I talked about Charlie Kirk, and Candace was, she was doing quality work in the beginning at undermining TPUS gay and causing drama. But then it just ran its course. Just like with Trump, she's a hard watch. She's very annoying. And she, in terms of covering all of these things, she's the center. She's made herself the center of attention, and therefore, needs to be addressed. So let's get into the Jimmy Dore stuff here. Okay, so the two people that would be considered kind of truthers, well, four of them, but the two that I'm going to talk about now are Jimmy Dore and Candace Owens, right? They are the ones that YouTube constantly is recommending videos for. They also recommend videos for Megyn Kelly and Tucker Carlson. So these are approved people who dabble in truther things, right? These are all pre-approved by YouTube. So whether they think they're just benign or they are, I mean, I would assume all of them, but Jimmy Dore and probably Jimmy Dore are all controlled in some way or another, right? That they are handled and they are, whatever they are. Because otherwise YouTube wouldn't recommend their videos like all the time. Like I get 3 or 4 Candace Owens videos recommended every day, 3 or 4 Jimmy Dore, a couple of Tucker Carlson's, at least one, and maybe 1 or 2 from Megyn Kelly. And, I barely click on any of them. This one was recommended multiple times, and I knew I was going to get to it at some point. And it is, everything that we know that the association between Jimmy Dore and Candace Owens is, just embarrassing here.
There's been a lot of videos of Erika Kirk going around showing her inside of CIA promo videos when she was 22 and 23 years old.
This virgin here?
I don't know if you've seen them, but here's another one. James Lee found another one. With some lighter news to wrap.
Okay, did he find it or did somebody else find it? Right? Like is he the one getting credited for? I don't even know. I don't know who he is. I'm just saying.
Found out the week Erika Kirk might actually be CIA. You think? Let's watch.
So the internet sleuths have dug up an old CIA
Yeah, so that was internet sleuths, not this guy.
documentary, and Erika Kirk is in it. Check this out.
We have 5 major threats that make our grid extremely vulnerable that we've presented to congressional officials. 1 being cyber, 2 being hackers, 3 being...
Okay, so we saw this clip, right? Erika Kirk is an asset. She's a part of the club, right? Like we all see that now. Like she is, the acknowledgement she gets from Trump, the acknowledgement she gets from J.D. Vance, she's part of the club. She's hobnobbing with these people, just like Charlie Kirk was, right? And so, like, to say that Erika Kirk was an asset, but Charlie Kirk was organic, right? Like, it's just retarded, right? Like, they're all, all these people are on one side of the capstone pyramid type situation, right? In the, on the back of the dollar bill where there's a floating capstone. These people are somewhere in the club, right? Wherever it is. Like Jimmy Dore would be, I would assume, the lowest. And Tucker Carlson would be the highest. And then Megyn Kelly and Candace Owens would probably be somewhere, wherever they are. But they are, they're all a part of that club, right? They're all, they are, there's whatever their level of knowledge and planning and things like this. They don't tell you unless it's like a need to know basis, but they're part of this thing, right? They're active puppets. Like everybody's a puppet in this situation. Everybody is a slave to the beast, but these guys are in a different level. And Erika Kirk got bumped up probably when Charlie Kirk was, became whatever he became, right? When DPUSK became that and whatever she is now. But then, she's a depreciating asset, right? She's an asset like a, whatever to the people that control the system. It doesn't necessarily mean CIA. Like that's just what, people think about. Like, that's what we know. The CIA, the FBI, the NSA, like those are the agencies. But what does that mean, right? What was she as a kid? How was she prepared and what, roles that she was going to have to embrace? But she's failing. Like they must know she sucks and is failing. And she's become an internet meme, which they can use also. They can use that too. Like that becomes an asset, like, but she's no longer like considered a serious person and somebody who could, the people have voted and they don't like her, right? Like the average people. So it's like, whatever it is, it's all these people. They're all part of the show, right?
physical threats. Fourth one is solar EMP, and the fifth one is man-made EMP. So the concern that we have is that we put out this.
So the title of this video is Proof Erika Kirk was CIA all along. And this isn't proof of that. This is just some kind of video. Like, you know, does everybody in this thing a CIA operative, like these kind of videos? Like every person in there, a CIA operative? You know, what's that, that lady from Fox, the Judge Judy lady, like she's in this thing, right?
Critical information, and when we go over this risk analysis, they hear what we're saying, but they don't want to take action.
Okay, so apparently this clip is from a documentary called Black Start USA, and Erika Kirk, née Francevy, appears as a presenter or briefer on a topic of electromagnetic pulse, EMP threats, and vulnerability.
Like, so serious. Why are you so serious, bro? Bro, why is this so fucking serious, right? Like, we know what Erika Kirk is now. Like, we don't fucking have to go back into the past and, oh my God, she did a CIA video that nobody saw, right? Like, who saw this video? Like, where was it circulated? Who gives a shit about this video, right? Like, you know, she was in a music video that really, you know, was a country music video. It was not really all that much. She did a couple episodes of a reality TV show, dated a gay dude for a little bit before she married one, right? She dated some other guys and lied about it. Her parents were, you know, governmental operatives, and they had their, you know, grifting thing on, whatever they were involved in. And, you know, and what she is now is really the important thing. Like, she is a fucking disaster. Like, you don't need to go back in here and say, like, oh my God, she's, you know, like, there's some kind of, she was in the club. She's an asset, right? Like, she's a part of this thing. Like, it's not, you know, Jesus fucking Christ.
Abilities in the U.S. power grid.
First of all, I'm pretty sure she was 23 years old. So she's been CIA since the time she was a beauty queen. They got her, went and got her. So she's been CIA for a long time. Her mother is also in defense, and it all centers around Camp Huachuca.
I was waiting for that. Does it? Does it really, Jimmy? It all centers around Camp Huachuca, does it? Fucking, you know, the Mitch Snow thing, like, fucking Jesus Christ. Like, it's just stop. Like, just fucking stop. Like, you got a losing hand. Like, you're embarrassing yourself. You know, like, all this stuff, you never get to the bottom of it. And even if you did, no one's going to believe you, and there's no apparatus in the system to do anything about it. Like, you just have to get a sense of the thing, right? You got to, you know, have a sense of the entire show, and you got to get a sense of these individual things. You know, what is TPUS gay doing now that's going to influence America, right? They got Trump elected. They helped participate in that. Like, maybe, you know, and Trump was going to be elected anyway, so that's whatever it is. They got this, you know, this gay faith-based thing going on that's failing, you know, the Twink 1 and Twink 2, you know, all those things. And, you know, it's just, what? Like, what? Like, what are you doing here? Like, what do you, like, you know, where is this going to lead? What's the fucking off-ramp to this thing? Like, where does this thing end? Like, you know, what's the goal of this? Like, what do you think is going to come out of all this bullshit, other than you getting views and Candace Owens getting views, and, you know, they're depreciating assets as well. You know, these guys absolutely suck, right?
Fort Hocktua, I believe, is
Or
the way.
Fort Hocktua, as Kurt calls it.
She is shown briefing or
Come on, Kerp, you can do better than that.
addressing a group of national security professionals, experts, and figures, including former CIA Director James Woolsey. The footage depicts her delivering information about potential EMP attacks, which could originate from high-altitude detonations or other means, and the risk of the coordinated physical attacks that could lead to widespread blackouts or grid failure. This is framed in the context.
Okay, let's move on here.
Tells me that she's been CIA since before she had her mind wiped.
Ever since she was first cloned, she's probably been in the organization.
Boy, you guys are funny. I can see why this is a comedy show.
I mean, there she is. She's 23 years old, giving it a presentation to CIA.
No way. She's fucking, I mean, she must be the queen bee.
About
Higher ups.
EMPs. Yeah, well, her mom makes EMP defense weapons or something.
Okay, so I just want to find out, where's the explanation of Fort Huachuca? All right, so this is where they go south.
It's her mother, they're all in the intelligence, and that all goes through Camp Huachuca.
It's not even hard to believe.
What do you mean goes through Camp Huachuca? Let's go back a little bit.
That.
What a nightmare. Boy, his parents must not trust her at all.
Right?
You don't see him around. You don't see the Kirk, old Pep and Mother Kirk around, do you?
We don't, Kerp.
What is she doing?
What is she doing, bro? What the fuck is she doing? What are you doing? Like, what are you doing, bro?
What is it that? And of course, so now we know. Of course, she was at Camp Huachuca.
No, we now know. Of course she was. Why do we know that? Like, why do we know that? Like, just like fucking just the lame ass shit that fucking Candace Owens is presenting. Candace Owens is presenting. Cameron Owens.
No, now we know. Of course, that makes sense. Her mother, they're all in the intelligence, and that all comes
They're all in the intelligence. They're intelligence.
through Camp Huachuca.
It all does. It just goes through there. It's all. That's the centerpiece, and we've uncovered it with this guy fucking Mitch Snow, right? We've unfucking covered. He released the Kraken when he went up there and saw her, like with his. I mean, the most non-credible witness of all time. They saw her up there. Like, she's involved. Like I said, you don't need any of this. You don't need to tie her to the CIA. You don't need, like, these are just things that people have in their minds that they need to give reference points to, right? Like, people can't live in the not knowing abstract, but still knowing, right? Where you have a sense of the thing, but you don't have all the details. Like, you don't need the fucking details, right? Erika Kirk was clearly Charlie Kirk's handler in some way. Like, she was, this was some kind of arranged marriage, or she was, posing, or whatever. It's like honeypotting him, whatever this thing was. Like, she was there, but she wasn't really integral to any of it. Like, she was not really a part of TPUSK. I mean, according to her and him, like, the relationship, whatever you might believe, but she wasn't out there being a part of it. And it seems like the people don't like her or know her there. Like, she isn't, like, she didn't immediately assume a role on the show. I mean, she likes being out in front of the camera, but she's not a regular on the show. Like, she doesn't she's only shown up she gave a couple of goofy speeches, and she's been on the show like once or twice in this entire time, and doesn't have any plans to do that. She likes to be in front of everybody and hosting the events, but she was barely a part of them. She was like a guest speaker sometimes, so she wasn't integral to TPUSK. So, like, whatever her role was with him, and in terms of keeping him on the straight and narrow, and she didn't seem to say anything about pushing him away from Israel. I mean, pushing him towards Israel when he was sort of having the realization that he had to keep his show and his fans, that he had to stick it to Israel, like, in some way. Like, she didn't stop him from bringing Dave Smith on. She didn't stop him from bringing Tucker Carlson on. Like, I don't know what kind of influence she had on him, or what realness was in their marriage. Was he actually gay? What was all that, right? But you see, it's pretty much a fake marriage. But people see her as his legitimate wife. And so they would have to have her to any kind of, whatever they're doing here. If they actually assassinated him, or they just disappeared him, or whatever people think, we'll never know. But, like, let's just call it a real assassination to wax this guy. They had to have her as a controlled asset, and she is. She's done everything that they want her to do. She hasn't, balked at one little thing. She's still backing Trump. She's backing J.D. Vance. Like, this is part of she's backing Israel. Like, she's doing everything that Charlie Kirk was sort of breaking away from. Charlie Kirk was having issues with Trump and, America First, this bullshit stuff that, all that, right? All the, the stuff that Trump was, like, not doing the isolationist, but it was all over the place. And Charlie Kirk was breaking away from him with Iran and some of these other things, right? Charlie Kirk wasn't on board with some of these things, and she's on board with all of them. So she's an asset. Like, she's doing what they want her to do. But it doesn't carry an audience. And the only thing that Charlie Kirk had on his side, other than hundreds of millions of shekels, was that he had an audience. Like, there was, a group of people who were watching him. He had some influence. And they don't have that anymore. So she's worthless, like this whole thing. TPUSK is a joke. And she's worthless, and, whatever. Like, she's not going to come to justice, whatever her role is in this thing. But this person, do you think she's some kind of mastermind that she would have to go to Fort Huachuca to plan a military operation? Do you think she would be involved with a military operation, that they would compromise her, like somebody might see in her, some random fuck that wanders into Fort Huachuca might see her there, and he didn't even say he saw her there. He saw her whatever in like a hotel, and like I said, it'll change their story, whatever it was. The guy's like an unreliable witness, but why would she need to be there? And why would they need a whole military base to be involved in something where, they've, according to Candace Owens, the French Foreign Legion, Egyptian planes, Israel, and American military, and of course the president, the FBI, and all the local law enforcement, and various members of TPUSK, all had to come together to execute this one guy. Like, what the fuck, right? Like, can you make it more complex than that? And she'll be adding more shit to it, and this guy will be parroting her bullshit, right? Like this, it's just silly.
They're all in the intelligence, and that all goes through Camp Huachuca.
It's not even hard to believe. I don't even understand why there was a fight about it.
Yeah.
Now I 100% believe Fort Hawk 2. Well, I already got people I know texting me about it. That's a MK. Lockheed runs it. They all get their own special forms of programming. It's proprietary, but that's what Fort Hawk 2 always was. It was they give you a bowl of LSD, they used to say, for your MK Ultra shit.
Okay, let's say that's what it was. That's what it always was. It was MK Ultra, right? Then they stumbled upon this, because there's these places, there's supposed to be a big hub of MK Ultra right near Virginia Tech. Remember, there's a shooting there at Virginia Tech, and there was another one in Roanoke. And there's stuff supposed to be associated with Nashville, and of course, the underground city in Denver. But these are all just, speculative things, Area 51, things like that, where maybe there's something there, or maybe it's just bullshit, right? Like it's all... And the narratives that go around the truth community that may or may not be true. And they're just passed along, and then people don't accept the official story, and they replace it with some internet bullshit that may or may not be true, right? Like, it's true that these things exist. It's true that the government had a mind control program. It's true that those things were done. But, now it's Fort Huachuca. Somebody made a comment that it was like Fort Bragg or something that Candace was talking about before as a hub. But now it's this one. But let's say Fort Huachuca is that, right? That doesn't mean Erika was there or she's involved with it there, and they were involved with the assassination, right? Like, if they accidentally stumbled on something, this guy said something like, like just randomly, or this is part of some kind of operation, and somehow Mitch Snow is an asset. I don't know how they didn't know that video of him in the fucking garage was, whatever. But none of it is legitimized, and it never will be. And so, Candace Owens is a piece of shit. Like, she's always done these kind of things. It's, why didn't she go in on Tucker Carlson and his connection to the CIA? Like, his dad was in the CIA. He was clearly an operative. And he's good on Israel, but he's horrible on martial law. He's pushing for martial law. He lies about the fake assassination on Trump. I mean, he's a fucking, he's an inside operative. Like, everyone know that. He's better than, like, a lot of the people. He says some truth or stuff. But he's an asset. Why not go in on him? Well, he's your friend, right? Why not go in on Andrew Tate or, on that guy who was, whatever his name was, the guy from England, with the long hair and he's been accused of rape, like all these people. Why are they in it? Like, those guys, they're falsely accused, but Erika Kirk's not, right? Like, this is, it's, what are you using to differentiate between the people who are being set up by the government and the people who are, that you think are guilty of the things that they're being accused of, right? Like, why didn't she do a deep dive in any of those people? And so, it's silly. Like, you guys are all part of it. Like, this is not the people who are the targets of this scam of the grift are everyday ordinary Americans, right? They're the marks, right? And all these people are, all these famous people, all these people in the show are part of that grift. They're not really oppositional. It's a show put on to keep the masses in line and direct them toward whatever they need to direct them towards.
So that's why she was there. That's why all these influencers are here, just as Zbigniew Brzezinski predicted in his amazing Technocrat State book.
Oh, Zbigniew Brzezinski.
Okay, so there's this. These guys are fucking just retarded. You're retarded. So then Trump did this. He walked. He walked up to the reporters, carrying a load in his diaper. My butt's been wiped. Remember Joe Biden? Boom. Everyone stop. I'm pointing at this guy. He's a shill. He's one of my guys. I'm going to start with him.
Thank you, Mr. President. Can you explain how you view, your great healthcare plan will impact Americans' health insurance premiums?
It's going to be it is a tremendous plan. It's called the Great Healthcare Plan.
It's called the Great Healthcare. It must be great. I mean, if it's calling it great, it has to be great, right? I mean, it's in the fucking title. It's not the shitty healthcare plan. It's not the mediocre healthcare plan. It's a great healthcare plan. I mean, it's amazing that Trump always finds the greatest plans and then calls them by thy name. Call them by thy name, Trump.
And we're going to get tremendous reductions, as you know, through, if you look at medicines and prescription drugs, they're going to come down by numbers that have never been seen before.
He always has numbers that no one's ever seen before. He always has these mystery numbers that no one's ever seen. Like it's a number between 7 and 8, but it's not a 7.5. It's like a new number with a new name, like Blevin, like Evan, like he's got numbers no one's ever seen. I mean, there's numbers out there Trump has. He's at his access. He's a mathematical genius that no one's ever seen before.
And we're doing that by most favored nations and other nations. Whoever pays the lowest in the world, that's what we're going to pay. Right now, we're paying sometimes 10 times higher than other nations. So
and we're making a law that's fucking bullshit. We're gonna, so when they're gonna now have to kick up the prices of all these other countries, so they can screw America.
We have favored nations. That's been approved. Other nations have, for the most part, agreed to it, and they had no choice. Otherwise, we were going to put tariffs on them. Mr. President, the health care plan that we're coming, the money's going to be paid directly to the people. So it goes directly, not to the companies, not to the insurance companies.
Okay, so this is what I do that Trump is trying to get a payout from the insurance companies, right? So what he's talking about is the single payer. And when Obama and Hillary Clinton ran on what eventually became Obamacare, they both had a health care plan, right? And both of them, Obama said initially that he wasn't going to force people to get it, like poor people. He wasn't going to penalize them and charge them taxes if they didn't have insurance. Like that was the difference between his plan and Hillary's plan. I watched them argue about it in a debate. And of course, when he adopted his plan, they made it so everybody had to be on insurance, which I suffered from, because I don't like allopathic medicine. And so it's better for me to spend the money on, preventative non-allopathic care, which you can't get through these bogus insurance companies, right? But the whole problem was a single payer where you have insurance like they have in Europe and Canada, where you pay a shit ton of taxes for health care and you get shitty service because it's not really a competitive market, right? It's so, again, I don't know if people in those places value their health care, but they have universal health care and everyone pays into it. And your taxes go way up when that happens. And so they try to do it with the insurance companies, and insurance companies are worthless. Like they cause a lot of bureaucracy. I work as a counselor, I have a master's degree in counseling. And, a lot of it was Medicaid, so it was a little bit simpler. But I worked at outpatient clinics and things. And insurances, they got whole people that are employed that just deal with the insurance stuff, right? And you have to diagnose in a certain way, and as a clinician, as a counselor, you would have to diagnose somebody so the insurance companies would pay for sessions. But in healthcare, it's much more complex, and the doctors and their team spend a lot of their time and energy just making sure they get paid by the insurance companies, and they have to word things a certain way and diagnose people, and of course they're also, they're owned by the pharmaceutical companies as well. So the insurance companies are parasites. And Obama wanted to not involve the insurance companies in Obamacare, but they just said, fuck you, and they have way too much money and lobbying power, right? They're making insurance companies make a shit ton of money for basically insurance is just a scam. It's a fear-based scam because they don't pay, right? When I was in college, some girl ran a red light and took me off the road, like destroyed my car, sold my car. And they ended up giving me like $300, $400 for it. And I couldn't replace the car, and it was just a fucking nightmare. I was working, my second attempt at college. I had multiple jobs, and I had to drive and fucking, and it was just, and the guy came over, the insurance adjuster, and he knew I was a college kid. He knew I couldn't afford a lawyer, and he just was going around the car and fucking, just doing whatever he could to make it so they didn't have to pay. And people all have experienced insurance companies not paying, and whether it be healthcare or whatever it is, it's a scam. They want your money now, and they want to minimize what they pay out to you later, right? That's the scam, and they've made themselves, like this integral part of our system, that they're just a parasitic part of it. They're, a middleman, a go-between, a gatekeeper, and they just absorb large amounts of resources. And so it's just, I don't believe in insurance at all. I grew up in Hartford, where it's the insurance capital of the fucking world, right? They have all these insurance companies there. I don't know if they do it now, but they did before. That was what Hartford's big, it's it's a capital of Connecticut, right? And so if he's saying that he wants to get rid of the insurance companies, that ain't going to fucking happen, because Obama couldn't do it. So it means that they're going to have to pay him off. Like this is like him doing we're not going to involve you guys, and the next thing you know, they're going to show up and offer him a bribe, or his family, and he'll take it because he's a fucking grifter. Because, I'd be shocked to see a healthcare plan that gets rid of the insurance companies, but those healthcare plans would be very much like Canada's or England's or Europe, where it's taxpayer generated, and those things are very inefficient. And, we all know about the complaints about that, and people will pay like way more percentage in taxes to make that happen. So, it's a fucking mess, right? Like, this is, whatever he's saying, the great healthcare plan is really another way for Trump to get grifter money.
Go directly to the people, and the people are going to buy their own health care. They'll get much better health care at a much reduced cost.
Pull out of NATO if it doesn't help you acquire Greenland. If it doesn't lead the way.
Well, we're going to see. NATO has been dealing with us on Greenland. We need Greenland for national security very badly. If we don't have it, we have a big hole in national security.
Okay, so that's a total lie, because we already have military bases there in Greenland. Like they said, Canada, my wife was saying, I don't know, I haven't checked it out, but saying that someone was saying Canada's willing to fight America for Greenland. In Europe, like this could be a war with Europe. At least the dissolution of NATO. Like this all could fall apart over Greenland. And it's because they have rare earth minerals and other things. Trump's just trying to say we're going to glom fucking, it's, he's like a fucking Hitler. Like this guy, like this is what he's doing. Like it's chaos in the streets and fucking shooting lesbians in the face and, like fucking.
Especially when it comes to what we're doing in terms of the Golden Dome and all of the other things. We have a lot of investments in military. We have got the strongest military in the world, and it's only getting stronger. And you saw that with Venezuela. You saw that with the...
So he added another 50% to the military budget, which is already our number one expenditure, which is what you do when you prepare for war, right? Like this is, which would be a red flag when we spend way more than every other country. And we have, better military when we start, doubling down, right? So, like, this is, this guy's a fucking disaster.
Attack on Iran would be knocking out their nuclear capability, potentially.
I thought you obliterated it. Remember I said he obliterated it and he pitched a little fucking fit, a hissy fit? Look at what big, giant, colossal cursor. I got a new operating system. I don't know if I can see it's huge. We'll see how it plays out with my... It gets diminished when it goes through my screen flow. But look at the difference. Here's there, and then this one. Whoa, look at the size of that fucking thing. It's quite big. I don't know. If it might be back, we'll see. Otherwise, it's just going to it's not going to look like anything you guys are going to what is he talking about. But to me, this thing is fucking, it's 4 times the size of it. It's real. It's like the ultra colossal cursor.
So, yeah, we're talking to NATO.
So I'm copying this with ScreenFlow, the app that's on Apple, and I just got their new operating system. And so that's why I was stunned. But sometimes when ScreenFlow makes it into the you know, it changes the size of it.
Mr. President, Mr. President,
to not militarily.
sorry guys, you cannot push tonight.
I don't talk about this.
Mr. President, Mr. President, Mr. President.
You urged protesters in Iran earlier this week to keep fighting in the streets and said that help was on the way. Is help still on the way, or has your bar
Well, we're
for
going to see.
intervention
As you
changed?
know, Iran canceled the hanging of over 800 people. They were going to
That's nice of him. I mean, Jesus, you know. I mean, 800 people hanging, it's just uncalled for.
hang over 800 people yesterday, and I greatly respect the fact that they canceled that.
Well, good for you, Arad. So you guys, you know, you thought, you know, you reversed yourself on the hangings.
Prime Minister Carney is in China. Prime Minister Carney is in China.
China.
How do you see the deals Canada and China have just signed, trade deals between the two partners?
Well, that's okay. That's what he should be doing. I mean, it's a good thing for him to sign a trade deal. If you can get a deal with China.
All right, enough of this guy. His hair's gone like white, like he's no longer got any red in his hair, and he's, you know, he's not doing the slurping thing, so that's good for him. So, but you know, it's still there. It'll come back around. Okay, so you guys don't think I'm crazy. I'm copying this with my phone. See how big this thing is? Look at it. Look at that fucking giant cloud. You don't get to see it. I do, so it's no longer fun for everybody. But look, it's there, and then boom. Look at that motherfucking thing. And so the ScreenFlow app just adjusts the cursor. I can make it bigger, but it makes it all the same size. There's no like, see, it's there. There's a little cursor. There's big fucking giant colossal fucking cursor right there. But now we don't get to participate this together. It's just, you know, it's just something I get to see. Or if I bring in the phone here like I was doing. All right, so that's that. Okay, just to clarify, I got some more Jimmy Dore here, but just to make it clear here. You know, ScreenFlow, when it renders the video, it reduces the cursor all to the same. I don't know why it does that. I don't even know how. Because it's supposed to be taping the screen. But I guess the screen and the cursor are two different things, but it does show you the cursor. So I don't know why. And it used to show you when it was big, like it showed you the exact size that I see. But somewhere along the line, they fucking stopped that. And so I had to get rid of my big, giant, colossal cursor bit, which I used to love quite a bit. But now it's gone, and, you know, I can do it, but just for myself, and, you know, that would be just weird. All right, let's get into the Jimmy Dore thing. Okay, so this fucking guy, right? This fucking clown. You know, what a piece of shit this fucking guy is. So, you know, one of the things I didn't mention when I discussed this comment with this woman, you know, why would I cover it? It's about people lying to their audience, which is the whole problem, right? Because, you know, your audience is, you know, I don't want to say customers. I mean, whatever the relationship you have with people, they're responsible for your having a job, right? People coming to listen to you, whether it's Trump, whether it's Charlie Kirk, whether it's Ben Shapiro, right? Whatever, you know, politicians, you know, actors, actresses, any of these people, right? The reason people have a job is because people watch your content. You know, when you're a content creator. And when you're talking to people, especially when you're supposed to be telling them the truth, they're coming to you because they don't believe in the official story, then, you know, you're responsible to tell them the truth to the best of your knowledge. Especially when you're pretending to be like a truther. And these motherfuckers aren't doing it. Candace Owens, this clown, right? Now, you might be wrong about it. Like, I don't care if somebody's wrong and they you know, tell the truth. I mean, they tell their truth and it's just wrong. I mean, you know, then you're just wrong, and that's a whole nother thing. But when you're purposely deceiving people, and you've maybe rearranged your reality to pretend you're not doing that, but you're just manipulating your audience, because nothing's going to happen. You know, the people that you're talking about, you could be talking about anybody in a slanderous way, lying about them, or just talking about what pieces of shit they are. And unless they tune into it, and why God would you, and that's your own fault if you do, it doesn't affect them almost at all. Like, they lose maybe a little bit of their fans. You know, in some cases there's some brand damage. I mean, not brain damage, but brand damage, right? At most you get brand damage. And, you know, the audience gets brain damage or, you know, they become more stupid, right? So this guy says, Candace Owens vindicated over Fort Huachuca, and she's not. Like, and he's using this thing right here.
Now you're saying Erika Kirk is involved in Camp Huachuca and PSYOPs, and somehow she's involved, and this is that is just crazy talk. Well, now it's confirmed that she's not. She's
You said crazy talk. He dropped the double sixes here.
confirmed.
Right, go back here. Right here. You said crazy talk, and you dropped its double sixes.
It's crazy talk. Well, now it's confirmed.
It's not confirmed. Okay, that's like fucking. Are you retarded? I don't hear what he says here. Are you retarded or are you just a liar? Like, which is it? Because she didn't confirm shit.
That she's not. She's well known on the base to a lot of people. Okay, and she was doing a movie, and everybody involved in the movie is connected to Camp Huachuca.
No, like, it's very, in a very slight way connected to Camp Huachuca. She was never doing a movie, right? So those things are both fundamentally dishonest. I'm not going to go through everything that Candace Owen said about each one of these people, but it's circumstantially connected to Fort Huachuca. And I don't know if she's lying about it or not. I don't know if she's exaggerating. I don't know about any of the things that she's saying, but even if everything she's saying is true, they have a very superficial connection with Fort Huachuca. And Candace Owens, if you're talking about a stunt person in a movie that never even was in the beginning stages, like it didn't even have funding, right? Like if you have a project, you can go and say, I have this project and Ben Affleck has agreed to star in it. And then you start shopping it around Hollywood. And if nobody says they want to pay for the movie, then it doesn't get made. And that happens all the fucking time. And so there's no movie, there's no staff, there's no anything. You have a script or an idea for a script. Maybe it isn't even a complete script, right? Maybe it's just an idea. And you want to get funding for it, and nobody wants to fund it. But this wasn't that kind of movie, because it may or may not have starred Erika Kirk, right? Erika Franze, who has no acting experience other than a little bit of, stuff in music videos and some public speaking. And she was, basically a model. And we don't know if she was even starring in it, right? Like they're pitching it for her to star in it, but like they couldn't go to producers in Hollywood. This was not a Hollywood production. What kind of movie you think Erika Kirk was starring? Like one of those shitty fucking D-level movies, not even a B-level movie that you wouldn't even see on Lifetime or something like that. I mean, this isn't a Lifetime movie, but a really bad fucking B action movie. Those really bad action movies that looks like somebody shot it with their fucking home camera. Like that kind of a fucking movie. And they couldn't even get funding for that, right? So this was not anything, right? So, and I'll show you that, what we know about it, but here.
And that she's regularly at the Camp Huachuca. So let's look. Candace Owens has reported that she has an informant, a guy who was at what is his name? Nick Smith. That's the guy's name, right?
Nick Smith.
Mitch, that guy Mitch.
Mitch.
Yes,
Mitch
who has
Snow.
a checkered background of spousal abuse, like most special forces guys.
Yes, that's right.
He's not special. He's not special forces. Like, I mean, he said he's a medic, but come on. Like, you see the guy? I mean, I showed you some of the clips already if you haven't seen them already.
Mitch Snow happened to be at Camp Huachuca, and
okay, so we know this part, but like he's, that's only Mitch Snow. He's not an informant. He's a guy who showed up there and, like, he was so well connected, they searched him to see if he had a bob, right? he had been there 35 years ago, at least according to his story, showed up there for whatever reason. It seems like he was there based in, various things that, there was a report out that Candace Owens read, and his son confirmed that they called him from the fort because this guy put a son that doesn't talk to him anymore, he put his son down as next of kin. And his son was military, current military, something like this. His son seems like a real piece of shit too, or whatever, like whatever he is, right? But not as bad as his dad. I mean, nothing like his dad. He says his dad can't be believed because he's constantly lying. And, Candace Owens used his son's testimony to validate he was at Fort Huachuca. But being at Fort Huachuca doesn't mean whatever he says happened there, because he has no credibility. And even if he did have credibility, he doesn't have any proof. So it's a nothing burger. Like, he's a nothing burger, right? Let's go to the other piece here. Okay, so let's let him finish this piece here. Finish burying himself.
And that she's regularly at the camp with Chuka. So let's a little bit more. Let's listen.
Erika in this film was set to play a character named Evelyn Mathis.
Okay, so I
We know
should
this
not
be-
have to listen to Candace Owens here.
Assassins and technology, nanotech, all used to help the government.
Okay, so here.
Multinational corporations that have grown in power far. I'm going to let you just actually. That are hired in secret to remove rivals from power.
What?
Or to protect corporate capital from harm.
He's fucking, my mind is blown, man.
Okay, and it tells us about the elites, the proxies, and I'm going to let you just actually take a listen to the director Clayton.
It's fucking amazing.
I'll describe a bit about what this.
Okay, so like let's go to this. I'll show you this piece here before I'm going to show you this. Well, here, let her show this part here.
Was intended to be about. I say intended because when you start reading the comments in the Kickstarter campaign, you realize they never delivered. They promised to deliver it in 2013. That didn't happen. Here is the director Clayton Hogan speaking
Okay,
about.
so this is a film that never was made, right? And it has a write-up of things that are loosely tied to the same bullshit kind of. How many fucking of these governmental conspiracy movies where the government does all these things and all the things that happen with Charlie Kirk are covered in some kind of movie or another? I mean, you know, when I talked about this originally, Snake Eyes was much more, that's a mainstream movie that was actually made that had a lot of the storyline in it. And still, nothing's happened, right? Like, we've seen it. We've all seen that there's connection to fucking Snake Eyes and Erika Kirk's music video and all these things that are very suspicious and don't reveal anything. They don't change anything, right? They don't do anything. And so this is what I always talk about. Don't pretend like this is going to lead somewhere, because it never does. And with Candace Owens, it's just down another rabbit hole. And the issue here is Mitch Snow has no credibility. And so there's two issues, right? Well, let's go to this piece here. I have the same clip that we just saw, but here. So one of her morons here, Candace just reported that this movie is about corporate espionage and nanotechnology and assassins. And Erika Kirk was 23 years old. She's not polished now. She's not a quality actress now. She's a worse fucking griever. She can smile and be flirtatious. That's about her fucking range as an actress, right? And we've seen her do it. And she's fucking annoying and unlikable. So other than this poster here, this thing right here, November Renaissance, this, we don't know what starring in it would have meant, right? Like, is she going to be the lead? Would they make this, again, this movie goes nowhere, right? If she was going to be the lead, was she some bimbo that they had access to that posed, because this was coming out of Arizona. Like, all the great movies come out of fucking Arizona, right? Like, so this was something they were trying to get, like, right-wing money from. And whatever, people knew about her, maybe she was, like, mildly, famous within some circles in the right-wing community, that they would get money to make these. There's these shitty movies that they make, that one, whatever it's called, the film, they make these, shitty films for right-wing Christians, low-budget films. They made one on Hunter Biden. I don't know if it's the same people. It's called Angel Studios, for the one that advertised on Charlie Kirk. They made that movie about the human trafficking that really sucked. And everyone thought it was like a fucking masterpiece and was going to do so much good. And it was with Jim Carvell or whatever his name is. And so they make shitty movies for right-wing dopes, right? And, she may or may not have starred. Maybe they just used, like, oh, this is the bimbo we can get to pose for the cover to generate some interest, right? Putting a young lady on the cover or whatever it is, former Miss Arizona, as a way to draw attention. But, it could have been just a grift. Like, we don't know if they actually had any intention of releasing this movie. We don't know if there's anything more than the write-up that Candace Owens, read. And that there was how much was a script was there. And so this is what Candace Owens said about it here.
about what this was intended to be about. I say intended because when you start reading the comments in the Kickstarter campaign, you realize they never delivered. They promised to deliver it in 2013.
It's a Kickstarter campaign, right? So they were hoping to get crowdfunding, and they didn't get any. And so with no money, you got no project. And even with money, you don't necessarily have a project. And so saying that it was never released, they didn't film anything. They didn't have any money to film anything. They didn't do anything. There's nothing here, right? As much as Erika Kirk was involved, nothing ever happened. Like, it's just silly. Like, this is, again, he played this clip. You know, I pulled this clip to expose what a moron he was, and he played it himself. The idea here is that it's a Kickstarter campaign. And so some of the things in the movie, they're described, are loosely tied to the Charlie Kirk assassination and some of these other things. We don't know what her role was and how much she was going to be involved. And, you know, did she even screen test, right? Because if they didn't have a script and they didn't do anything to show, like, her ability to act, she might have probably been replaced because she's a shitty actress and she's weird and unlikable. So none of these things mean anything, right? Here's the other clip I was going to show you.
There's any in the world of us conspiracy theorists who kind of think that that's what's happening. Wasn't I just saying a couple of weeks ago that I feel like there are people that are walking around at the like computer programs, and it's pretty obvious that they're just stealing companies, stealing land, infiltrating, doing these sorts of things. These people are not even successful. They're just thieves. They're glorified thieves with access to the military. Again, to be clear, this project was never released, despite posting updates up to 2000.
See, don't say it was never released. There was no project. It was an idea that they were looking for funding for, and maybe they were grifting. Like, who the fuck knows how far this was along in the process? But without money, they weren't doing shit. We don't know if there was even a script or not, right? And so then, you know, this is stuff that he showed. So don't pretend that this vindicates anything or validates anything, right? And this is some of the connection. There's one connection here I want to show you, the alleged connection between Huachuca and the movie.
Pageants. And we're checking out this movie poster before I tell you what it's all about, what the movie itself is about. Just by way of association, virtually everyone involved in this movie, the actors, the stunt doublemen, they are involved with Fort Huachuca, okay?
The stunt doubleman? How is a stuntman? How is there a stuntman for a movie that hasn't even been written or funded? Why do they even need a stunt person? We don't have any money for the stunts, right? And what do you mean he's involved with Fort Huachuca? Like, this is where she's reaching. Like, you know, you're reaching because you had a guy on, or maybe this is just part of the script, but you had a guy on that has no credibility, right? A guy who fucking is a complete chooch. And, you know, for someone who likes to deep dive and go into details about all these people's lives, you had a guy on there that was, you know, was a walking fucking red flag. And you decided to do no research on him. And then when you got caught using the guy and all this video clips, embarrassing shit came out, you were like, well, who cares what his character's like? What kind of person he's like? You know, well, that's what makes him honest or not, right? You know, character qualities involve honesty and credibility. He has none, right? So,
involved with the military at the very least. The person they said she was really close to was Clayton Haugen. I hope I'm saying that last name right. Haugn. Maybe it's just Hogan. And he does marketing for the defense contracting firm D0ng Aerospace. There's Don Fry.
Look, why didn't you do this kind of research into Mitch Snow? Because you wouldn't be talking about this shit now if you did, right? Because you wouldn't have brought him on your show if you had any respect for your audience, to roll that piece of shit out and pretend that he's credible.
You might just think of him as a fighter, but he actually graduated from high school in Sierra Vista and then trained in judo at Fort Huachuca.
Oh, that's it. You're smoking gun. You mean some guy that's a part of a movie that never was made, that you had a poster with Erika Kirk in it, did judo at Fort Huachuca? That's a smoking. You've been completely vindicated. Correct me. I'm sorry. I apologize. I didn't know that there was a guy who did judo at Fort Huachuca, if that's even true, right?
There is Peyton McCormick.
Who's Peyton McCormick? What was his connection to Fort Huachuca?
He Her grandfather is Colonel Pete McCormick. Her father is Lieutenant Colonel Alan McCormick, once stationed at Fort Huachuca.
Oh, so one of her fucking distant relatives was stationed at Fort Huachuca. And so there it is. Like, it fucking completely validated. Of course, Erika Kirk, she practically lived there. I mean, she was like over there all the time, like blowing guys. Like, so, I mean, like this guy, Peyton's grandfather, and she's like somehow associated with this movie that was never made.
Peyton was also, by the way, Miss Teen USA in 2006. Priscilla Annual. And again, we can pull up that poster, Skylar, so they can just see we're going through the names here as well. Her father was a lieutenant stationed at Fort
Huachuca. Oh my God, you've been vindicated.
There's also Chantel Thuy. I didn't have too much time to go through that person's background. I bet I could find a clear connection to Fort Huachuca since that's the theme. But we can tell you that her dad worked in artificial intelligence for IBM.
Okay. So, you know, this there's nothing. You have nothing. It's circumstantial bullshit. And even if everything that she says is true, like even if everything that she says happened, the way she says it happened, that Mitch Snow isn't lying and he saw these people there, and all these connections are there, and all these people were there, it proves fucking nothing. Because she doesn't have any kind of insider information about a plot to kill Charlie Kirk that came out of Fort Huachuca, right? It would be weird for Erika Kirk to be there the day before he gets assassinated. You know, I mean, if she didn't know that, then whatever, right? Like, you know, it wouldn't be weird for her to be over there because they're pro-military people. Like, you know, she's always around guns, and she was associated with the military in Romania. She was at an army base there. She has a long history. Her family is connected, right? You know, may or may not be connected to CIA or intelligence, but they're these kind of people, right? They're insiders, and for her to be connected to military is not at all weird for her. Like, she's used pictures with her holding machine guns and, you know, weapons and being with soldiers in various settings. Not just she goes to forts. Like, she goes to these bases. They're a big part of their audience is military or ex-military, and all of their audience is pro-military, right? That's part of what they talk about. So it's not weird for her to be over at that base, but there's no proof that she was, and even if she was, there's no proof that there was a plot to kill Charlie Kirk that came out of there. And so you have a guy who's not a credible witness. Instead of admitting that you put this guy out there, you're trying to find any kind of circumstantial evidence to validate your bullshit. And you're lying to your audience, right? This is what I've said all along. There's nothing here. There's nothing provable. It might be all true, and even that doesn't mean anything. There's no smoking gun here. There's nothing. And she's going to have to move on to some other bullshit, just like she did with the planes. And she knows this herself because she was praying. She said she prayed to God for something legitimate. And Mitch Snow showed up. And I said, God must really hate Candace Owens. Because when your answer to your prayer is Mitch Snow, you know that God's not loving you, right? So let's go back to this piece of shit here. Okay, so when all you have is a young woman's great uncle was stationed at Fort Huachuca, and somebody who was associated with this, and maybe Candace Owens did judo there, right? You know, you have nothing, right? That's nothing. Those don't really tie Erika Kirk to the fort, and I'm sure she has ties to these bases and things because they're military-based people, right? Their audience is military people. You see it in the ads that they run. Like, this is part of their target group. So none of this stuff is incriminating, and you have a piece of shit like Mitch Snow and a piece of shit like Candace Owens and this piece of shit trying to sell you that there's something here when there's not, and they're disrespecting their audience, right? They're not disrespecting me. I mean, they're hurting me in the sense that, you know, there's this broad idea of the truth community, and when people just run out bullshit like this, they wreck everything in terms of whatever's credibility that's left in the bullshit truth community. But they're really hurting their audience. They're lying to their audience, right? Who believe this bullshit.
Out this movie.
Set to star in that they never. Yeah. This is the director of that movie that Erika Kirk was set to star in that they never made. This is him telling you what this is about. It's about implanting fake memories in people's brains to make them believe a false reality. This is right up your alley, Kurt. This is
Well, let me be a real normie Norman and say, well, he's just knocking off the Matrix, but I would still be haunted by that.
yeah. So there's more to this. Listen to this guy go on.
Or even how can someone like the class geek pirate and steal, say, the varsity quarterback's, knowledge and skill set? Or even more so, how can the knowledge and skill set of a Navy SEAL be copied and, transferred to somebody else? And this concept...
So this has been around for a long time. Like, this is nothing new. I covered transhumanism in 2015 and 16, I think. The guy who ran Google's research department, whatever that guy's name is, don't tell me, don't care, don't need to know. He's a famous guy. I think he must be dead or close to dead. But he was the guy who invented the scanner. And he was really pushing for transhumanism, being able to upload your consciousness to a computer, to an android, these things, and that you would live forever, right? Like this idea that you would live forever as your brain was uploaded. It was silly because, I talked about it quite a bit. And, it may or may not be getting funded, but they were trying to get billionaires to fund it. There was a website, and you had to pay $1 million to be a part of it, where you'd get your brain uploaded when they completed it. And who knows how much research was done on that. But that was like real shit, real stuff that they were doing. And this idea of singularity, right? And so, that's just one thing. But this is part of all this stuff. This guy's he doesn't look like he's not a real guy. Like this guy, what movies has he made? What projects has he done, right? So, they had this idea for a project. It has some shit in there that's, part of the conspiracy theory world that, that's been around for a while. There's nothing here. There's fucking nothing here, dude.
That became possible when we really pushed the boundary on what's called nanotechnology. And that's tiny little microscopic cameras, and knowledge is not learned.
Look, he's like...
The brain is a hard drive. Your eyes become video cameras, and knowledge is not...
Yeah, and who knows, how much of this stuff could actually be done. But here...
Learned, so much it is just programs that are installed onto you.
Whoa, my God. I can't believe he was just saying that. My mind is blown. This is a fucking smoking gun. Erika Kirk fucking did it. Go arrest her. Let's go do a citizen arrest. Right? Why don't you and Candace Owens go do a citizen arrest on Erika Kirk?
Yeah, so that's not going to help matters any in the world of us conspiracy theorists who kind of think that that's what happened.
So, whoa.
Yeah, well, this stuff, dude, I wrote a treatment before I got the job on Chappelle's show. I wrote a treatment for the $6 Million Man remake.
Okay, Kurt, no one gives a shit about your stuff.
Space that they keep on.
You do
pyro.
you.
I'm going to need a lot of pyro for this.
And, Charlie Kirk went to a special school. Did you know that? High school?
Okay, so there's nothing here. I don't want... This guy's just a fucking... He's just a... he's goofy, too. Like, he's not... It's not just he sucks and he's lying to his audience. You should know the difference between circumstantial... Again, the title of this video is Candace Owens vindicated over Fort Huachuca with new whatever information. Cuts off the title there. Which is what we just saw. And there's nothing fucking there, bro. There's nothing. You should know the difference between circumstantial evidence and real fucking evidence. And, there's nothing that would do anything to implicate Erika Kirk. But what I said time and time again, like one thing that makes, using in terms of just logic, Erika Kirk is tied to this thing. Erika Kirk is tied to this thing. Because they need her to pull it off. Other than the official story being true, every other scenario needs Erika Kirk. And she grieves poorly. I mean, we know it's insincere. It's not fucking real. We all know that, right? But that's all. It's never going to be more than that. Like, it's just get lost in these fucking, these contrived theories and shit like this. And you're doing a disservice to everyone by pitching them. She's long since gone over the edge with the Egyptian planes and these other things, which she admitted hasn't led to anything. She has no smoking gun. She has nothing. And she just gets these people to get involved, but she's losing her audience. At some point, you got to realize and be honest that Mitch Snow is not reliable. This guy should do it, and so should she. But the fact that they're not means that they suck. Either they're really, really stupid, or they're just liars and deceivers. Like he would be stupid, and she would be the liar and deceiver, or all of them, and perpetrating this on their audience, right? And maybe getting paid to do it. Like this is part of some scripted bullshit they're supposed to do. And who gives a shit? Because her audience, the people that believe this, I mean, she's losing her audience, which is good. But the people who believe this suck, right? The people who watch Candace Owens and think she's quality. And she's not the worst out there. I mean, Erika Kirk, whatever, all these people, they all suck, like all these people in the show. I mean, just the stuff that they're saying and the energy that they exude and their orientation to the world, all these famous people. And then, you get outside of the famous people, and you got a bunch of dumb fucks just bumping into shit, eating poisoned food, eating, carcinogens and heart disease and just, stuffing their fat faces with fucking, processed foods and, taking pharmaceutical drugs and just going to sleep, getting stupider and stupider by the day. And see, what are we saving here? Like, what, like, you want to make America great again? Well, you got to make Americans great again. Like, Americans are getting worse. Each generation gets fucking worse. So how are you going to make America great again if you can't make Americans great again? Which is, could be a T-shirt if I had fucking merch. Anyways, this is, like these guys just all suck. And it's getting really bad. I mean, it's just, it's embarrassing. For this guy, it's embarrassing. Anyways, let me wrap this one up here. Okay, just a few comments to get to. Maybe I'll add some more tomorrow. Probably not. This will be a shorter video. But somebody said, no, I'll do the second one. First, somebody said this. Shaking my head. I don't know. SHYYT. Do I have to look that up? It's a more I'm dealing with here. Okay, I guess that's another way to say shit. 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 The only reason this video is getting clicked is because it has Candace in the title, a laughing emoji with the face tilted, and two more different types of laughing emojis. Look, I know you're a dumb fuck. Like, I don't think this person's watching my videos because they only clicked on it because of the title. And the title is, Candace has lost 40% of her audience because of Mitch, and Erika and Todd Bridges live in the dream. Okay, so let me say this very quickly. I don't expect very much out of Candace people, the audience members, because they're just based in what they're doing. They're just full of shit, right? Because, they're listening to Candace and thinks that she's legitimate. But she could have done one simple thing. Does anybody think about what she could have done before leaving this comment? I'm not saying you need to comment and just in terms of all of it. What she could have done is look at my view count. You could just go click on videos, and that video has 3,965 views, and the video before it has 4,445. The video before that, which also has Candace in it, has only 3,746. And another one that doesn't have Candace has 3,800. And the one before that has 4,200. And the one before that has 5,200. And so that is not correct. Me putting Candace in the title, in fact, I noticed that over time would decrease my view count usually. Because my audience members, people who regularly listen to me, don't like Candace. And so that is not true. So she could have figured that out on her own. Like if my one video with Candace in the title had 30,000 views and all the other videos had 2,000 views, then you could surmise that Candace gave me a huge boost in view count. So the bigger issue here is anybody can see I prefer quality to quantity, and I just want to be able to talk on a level and, with a level of truth that's going to make my videos hard to not only, in terms of YouTube's recommending them and shadow banning them, but also most people can't get there, right? You know, I used to make shitty videos. I mean, I can prove that I, don't value views because I used to make shitty videos, the worse videos than they are now. It was, was what I was capable of, right? I was not as good and I was not as insightful and I didn't understand things as well back then. And, as you go through it and you do this work for a while, any kind of work, it gets harder and harder to make videos for dumb fucks. You see these like movie stars that say do one for you and one for them. Do the movie you want to do that's not going to be as popular, and then do the shitty blockbuster one that you don't want to do, right? These kind of things. Most people who do artistic work understand that. And, me covering certain levels of depravity, whether it be Hollywood or politics or any, current events, like I don't give a shit about any of that stuff, right? I have an opinion about it and I talk about it, but I don't care about it. So it isn't something that I would necessarily cover if I didn't have to make a living. But, my initial videos were just much more accessible to dumb fucks and people with remedial consciousness. Like stupid people could watch my videos. And I got some videos had millions of views. Some of them had hundreds of thousands, some 500,000, 700,000, 200,000. And YouTube changed the rules and I evolved. But I don't care about that. Like, doesn't, I mean, Justin Bieber used to get 1 billion views, like, it doesn't, it doesn't mean you're doing something great just because you get views or likes, it means nothing. Like the average person stuffs poison in their ghoul hole all the time, right? So like, that's not a barometer of quality. And I don't mean just food, I mean content and, people are poisoning themselves mentally in terms of, what they watch, what they digest and all the rest of it. Speaking of which, I just saw this comment came in, which I wasn't going to cover, but I somehow went back here. Please never eat Wendy's chili. I worked there for 3 years, starting at age 15. I'm 62 years old now. I would not eat Wendy's chili back in the late 70s. Yeah, I wasn't saying like I would never go to Wendy's. I was just saying that even Wendy's chili isn't bad. And I don't want to make it sound like I recommend fast food because I don't, for the obvious reasons. But yeah, it's, all of the above. There's also people saying that Candace Owens didn't lose view count. It's just that she went on break, but she's regaining her views, and that's not the case. She might get more views as time goes on, but she's gone on break before, and this time that I've covered her. She took a week or two off before. And she took a beating during this 10-day, 14-day period because of the Mitch Snow thing. And, there was going to be a time when even the dumb fucks that watch her realize she's just stringing them along. And there's the energy's going out of it because there's no movement, there's nothing happening. There's all these other world events and things unfolding, and things have a shelf life. And she can't move on because she has to deliver something on Charlie Kirk. Although she does like to move on to other bullshit things that, But either way, I think that people at some point will get an aversion to Candace Owens like I have. It's just her personality, and, it's not sustainable. But, she clearly is not, her numbers have not returned to where they were before. Her last 4 videos, the last videos that she put up were substantially lower. Like she went on break, and last video that she put up got 3 million views, and that was from 4 weeks ago. And then she returned, and the next video got 2.2 million views, and that's about normal for her, right? So she had Little Benny's breakdown, and that did well for her because maybe she was mocking Ben Shapiro. Then she came back. It was 2.2 million views, which means people were waiting for her to come back and address the Mitch thing, right? And I wanted to see how she was going to respond, whether she was going to claim the video of him in the garage was fake. It was a point of interest. And she didn't. She doubled down. She said some bullshit stuff. And the video after that got 400,000 less views than her last one, and with 1.8 million, and the next video got 1.8 million. The next video after that was about Charlie Kirk in the title, and that got 2.3 million, which was her normal views. But then she was down to 1.7 million again, 1.4 million. So it dropped even more, 1.4 million. And then this one, oh snap, we were right about Fort Huachuca, and down that was up 1.6 million, but still below her normal. So if she's getting 2.2 million, that's kind of her average. She's down significantly amount of views because, I mean, people are tired of this bullshit. She's just spinning her wheels. So anyways, there's that. And so here was the one comment I wanted to address. A person writes, possibly a stupid question. In the Sajmark system, are weed and tobacco considered drugs, or is it more of a depends on how or why you use it thing with the herb? So Sajmark, there's all these things that people use, like ayahuasca and DMT and other things to connect to God. And the Sajmark system's view on those sorts of things is that you don't need the physical body to connect to God. Like, you don't need to drug your physical body. You don't need your senses. In fact, you want to suspend your senses as much as possible. And so therefore you sit in a comfortable position. There's these people that used to milk our cows, this nice couple, young people, and the guy did Vedanta yoga, Vedanta, something like that. And what he used to do is they'd meditate for 12 hours, and they'd sit there on the floor very uncomfortably, like he was an ex-football player he was very new agey, and he lifted some weights. I think whatever, he was in good physical shape, but he said after a while the pain would drive you inwards, and you would meditate. And I tried to get him to consider the Sajmark position on this without like shitting all over the thing he did, because that's never a good thing to do. But without transmission and cleaning, I wouldn't meditate, which is available in the Sajmark system. But the Sajmark system says you sit in a comfortable position so your body, you can forget about your body. If you're uncomfortable, then you will think about your body. I used to try to sit on the floor, but my legs, I just couldn't cross my legs. Even when I was in my 30s, my legs were just too tight, and things from playing basketball, so I couldn't really sit comfortably cross-legged. And I tried to sit on chairs and things like this on the floor, and I just couldn't do it. So, and as I got older, of course, it got harder. But the Sajmark system isn't about sitting in any pose, any asana. It's about sitting comfortably and then forgetting about your body and your senses and going inward. And if things pull you out, like a fly lands on you, or you hear something, a noise or whatever, you get pulled out of meditation, you don't fight it, but you just sort of, you're supposed to treat thoughts like uninvited guests, even so much so that your mind and your connection to the material world and thinking about the material world is suspended for the time you're meditating, right? And so ayahuasca and those other things, or playing music or doing incense, is the opposite of what Sajmark's about, right? Where you need something physical to create a meditative state, where Sajmark, you're forgetting about your physical body and going inward. So it's a kind of unique perspective on some of these things. And, drugs and alcohol are a problem because they're not subtle, and they distort they impair your ability, right? All drugs do things to impair your ability, but they also create impressions. And so there's a story. There's a lot of people using drugs when Sajmark started with these hippies that came from Europe and America. It was kind of foreign to the masters and, the upper level people in Sajmark. Most of them didn't drink. Alcohol isn't as a big thing in India. Most of them were, spiritual seekers, eating a vegetarian diet because it makes you more subtle. The other thing is, if you're more subtle, you tend not to. It's easier to meditate. But if you're eating a lot of gross foods and toxins, your body is full of poisons, and it's hard to get into a meditative state. And so when people would visit Babaji, he would clean them as much as they could be cleaned spiritually. And there were a couple of young men who were like Danish, or they were from Europe, and they took a train down from where they saw Babaji, and they visited Charji, who was, Babaji's eventual successor in southern India. And Charji was giving them a sitting, and they were completely gross from the 12-hour train ride. So he asked them afterwards, what are you guys doing on the train? And they're like, well, we bought some hash, and we smoked some hash. Hash is a form of marijuana. It comes from the flower, whatever it is. And he said, yeah, don't do that, right? You know, Babaji had said only forbidden is forbidden. And these hippies all took advantage of that. But eventually they had to come to terms. A lot of them were doing LSD and other things. And it would create huge problems in their spiritual world that had to be ratified, where you had to be corrected. And, you know, for nothing. Like, drugs really don't, I mean, how many times have you really been happy using drugs or alcohol? Like, sometimes they enhance your situation, but for the most part, not really. So you can have that. And the other part about it is, in Sajmarg, you have this divine intoxication, which is a very subtle condition that's very pleasant, but also beneficial both spiritually and material and your physical body and your spiritual self without any hangover. It has a positive natural condition, like a subtle divine intoxication, which all of us at some point who's stuck with the Sajmarg system would experience regularly. There's like a blissed out feeling. And if you're drinking, you're doing things like that, alcohol, then, you know, it's problematic. Tobacco, on the other hand, Babaji used to smoke a hookah, and Charji smoked cigarettes until he quit after Babaji died. And, you know, it was always this idea that, like, if the master of the system smoked cigarettes, it was okay to do it. He did it because he had toothache, and, you know, they had different levels of dentistry where he lived. And he was smoking cigarettes because someone said it would help him. And he really enjoyed the hookah. And sometimes he wouldn't eat. You smoke the hookah. But smoking was definitely not like, you couldn't smoke on the ashram property. You go to the outskirts of the ashram. There was one young guy, this guy Josh, who co-wrote a book with Daji. He wrote the book. And Daji claimed it, you know, whatever it was. And he was smoking one day, and he said, you know, I have permission to smoke. And I'm like, dude, I'm not that guy, right? I didn't even notice you were smoking, and if I did, I wouldn't be judging you because I'm not I'm not one of those, you know, Bible-beating, you know, why are you smoking, you know, this kind of thing. And he said that both Charji and Daji, you know, Daji before he was, you know, he was Charji's successor, but he wasn't the piece of shit he is now. They both felt like the impression he would get from quitting smoking would do more harm than the smoking itself, but once there was he started to show symptoms of physical issues, that he was supposed to quit. And so, you know, it's not, I mean, Charji drank coffee, and and everyone drinks chai, and so that's a drug, and, you know, that doesn't seem to have a negative effect. I often found that caffeine had a positive effect on the meditation. So, you know, it's subtle. But, like, that's just part of their lifestyle. Like, they're big caffeine drinkers there. Everyone drinks chai and coffee, even younger people. Of course, it's in soda and these different things. And so, you know, but, I mean, if it becomes a problem, it's, you know, then it's got to be given up. If it's blocking your spiritual growth or meditation, if it's causing physical issues. And so there's a guy who was drinking coffee, and he was having panic attacks, and he quit, and it seemed to go away. You know, I was drinking chai for a while, and I stopped. You know, I drink the hot chocolate now with carob, and not, you know. I mean, carob seems to have much better health effect, and it really seems to be benefiting me thus far. And so really the Sajmarg system is just about forgetting the body, and then having as clean a body as, you know, clean of mind and spirit as best you can. You know, listening to, like, heavy metal music, or watching horror movies, or porn, or, like, you know, any kind of heavy duty shit like that's very gross. And, you know, if you watch movies that are very, like, you know, very, like, there's movies that are, the music and they're very intense, right? And some things might have graphic bloodshed, or, you know, graphic, or whatever it might be, like intimate scenes, I mean, different kinds of things, right? And so there have to be a detachment. You know, there's a detachment where you're kind of, you know, thinking God, and you're not really into the movie, that, you know, you're not being, like, overly absorbed in the movie. So it doesn't form an impression that's going to interfere with your meditations later on. So it's like, you know, it's more about, like, keeping everything light, keeping everything, you know, in its proper perspective, and not really getting absorbed in anything. You know, like, you can get really grossed out and angry about politics or the news. You know, you can watch the news and get, like, really pissed off and feel hatred. And, you know, if it's having that kind of effect on you, you either figure a way to do it where you watch this stuff without, you know, be detached from it, like it's there and it's whatever. But if it's, you know, negatively affecting you, you have to do something to change that, right? Anything that's interfering with your connection to God has to go. Or you have to learn how to live with it in a way that doesn't affect you. And so, you know, drugs and alcohol are just, there's no real way to do that with them. They're just so gross and they impair your abilities. You know, they make you dull and, you know, they kind of dim your light and, I mean, all those things. And so, you know, I mean, I was doing, I had to do fucking, I had an operation. I had to take OxyContin and I was in so much pain. Like I tried to avoid it and then it fucked me up and I had issues and like it was a whole fucking problem. And then I ended up just taking some Valium for a little bit and, you know, until I could bear the pain and then I was fine. But it fucked up my meditations. My videos weren't as good. I just was, you know, I definitely saw it affected me in a way that was unpleasant. And, you know, I mean, once I was able to, you know, process and, you know, get everything cleaned out and return to a more, you know, a more spiritual state, it was great. But, you know, I mean, sometimes there are things like that and they're unavoidable because the pain's too bad or whatever. Like I don't think I could have endured the pain without the OxyContin. Like it was miserable. And so, you know, maybe, I don't know. But like I can endure migraines and this is pretty bad. So, you know, I had hemorrhoid surgery. That was so it was, it's something my parents gifted to me. Both of them had hemorrhoid issues. And so I had that wonderful thing to deal with. But, yeah, you know, so I guess that's the answer to the question. All right, so let me just wrap this video up here. Only spirituality will save this world. It's Paravano, definitely reporting from the Apocalypse and the Ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.